matter? Is your powder damp?
Some other time.
Interesting facts about famous people.
John Wayne Early Westerns, The Big Trail to Stagecoach. After just having posted a video on early Western actors, I was asked why I didn't mention John Wayne. In reply, I am making this video just on John Wayne's credited roles in early Westerns. There are way too many to mention all. I have decided to focus on the movies he made from The Big Trail, 1930, till Stagecoach, 1939, today. Even having done that, there are still 40 movies, not including his non-Westerns. I noticed a couple of interesting things, such as in more than 50% of the Westerns, his character name was John. In one he was named Duke. In 3, he was posing as someone else. Let's see what else we can find out. If you enjoy this video, hit the notification button to get my new videos. If you want to check out my many other videos, head over to my channel. The link is in the description. Let's get into it. The Big Trail, 1930, as Brett Coleman, John Wayne's first major movie role. Raoul Walsh was having trouble casting the movie when he saw Wayne taking furniture off a truck. Wayne worked for the studio in the prop department.
Flack sell you any of these?
Flack? Oh, he didn't do any wolfing last winter, I guess.
The Range Feud, 1931, as Clint Turner. Ranchers Walter and Turner are losing cattle to rustlers and they blame each other. After Walter and Clint Turner argue, Walter is found shot and Sheriff Gordon has to arrest his friend Clint. With Clint scheduled to be hung, Gordon desperately looks for evidence to clear him. At the start of the movie, the Gale Pictures re-release title card misspells the title as Range Feud, F-U-E-D. Texas Cyclone, 1932, as Steve Pickett. In the bunkhouse scene, the inexperienced Wayne is standing too close to Wallace McDonald and Tim McCoy. When McDonald moves his head unexpectedly, his hat brim bangs right in Wayne's right eye. Wayne is momentarily stunned, but continues on with the scene, which was evidently not reshot. Two-Fisted Law, 1932, as Duke. When this film was sold to television in the mid-1950s, the title credits were redesigned and the names of John Wayne and Walter Brennan, which were originally in 7th and 8th position, were moved up to 2nd and 3rd position.
No, I didn't find any silver.
What happened?
Now, no more questions tonight, boys. Come on, out with you.
Oh, well.
Ride-'em Cowboy, 1932, as John Drury, a remake of the 1926 film The Unknown Cavalier, which starred Ken Maynard in John Wayne's role. Otis Harlan repeated his role from The Unknown Cavalier. Debut of actress Helen Dixon. The Big Stampede, 1932, as John Steele. The horse known as Duke, which was also John Wayne's nickname, appeared with him in 6 films: The Big Stampede, Haunted Gold, Ride Him, Cowboy, The Telegraph Trail, The Man from Monterey, Somewhere in Sonora, a remake of The Land Beyond the Law starring Ken Maynard in John Wayne's role. Haunted Gold, 1932, as John Mason. The statuette of the Maltese Falcon, previously used in the original version of the Maltese Falcon, 1931, can be seen in the background inside the house several times and very prominently in the scene where the film's heroine, Sheila Terry, is playing the organ.
Oh, no, you don't. What is it?
The Telegraph Trail, 1933, as John Trent. Yakima Kunut appeared here in his second appearance with John Wayne. From this film on, the two research, choreograph, and perfect the Western genre fight scene by camera angle position and their throwing of punches technique. Their stunt fighting method would be adopted by Hollywood and become one of the most widely used techniques in the film industry.
Man, that was close.
Yes, sir, we sure will.
Somewhere in Sonora, 1933, as John Bishop. Paul Fix was actually 6 years older than John Wayne. Includes archive footage from Somewhere in Sonora, 1927, of which it is a remake. The silent footage does not translate to sound speed well, and it's painfully obvious it's from an earlier film.
Come on, let's get out of here.
The Man from Monterey, 1933, as Captain John Holmes. Last of John Wayne's B-Westerns for Warner Brothers. Chris Pin Martin, Manuel, also appeared in Stagecoach, 1939, with John Wayne.
İstasyonun buralara yakın. Bu sabah Monterey'e tayin edildik. Ana yoldan geçerken üniformanız gözüme takıldı. Peki, teşekkürler.
Riders of Destiny, 1933, as Singin' Sandy Saunders. John Wayne could not sing. The songs were dubbed by Bill Bradbury, a son of director Robert N. Bradbury. The failure of the original copyright holder to renew the film's copyright resulted in it falling into public domain, meaning that anyone could duplicate and sell a copy of the film. Many of the versions of this film are either severely badly edited and/or of poor quality, having been dubbed from second or third generation copies of the film. Sagebrush Trail, 1933, as John Brandt, aka Smith. The opening scenes depict a modern 30s city with cars, streetlights and clothing. But as soon as Brandt escapes the train, he runs across the yard and leaps onto a horse. All references to modern times are completely gone. Horses, wagons and oil lamps replace modern conveniences for the rest of the movie. The Lucky Texan, 1934, as Jerry Mason. When they find banker Williams beaten, Jake tells Sheriff Miller to get the doctor, but the sheriff replies, "It's too late," indicating the man has died. Jake is arrested for murder. After Jake is exonerated and the sheriff's son, Al, is arrested, we find out that Williams is alive and expected to recover. Both Williams and Al disappear from the film. West of the Divide, 1934, as Ted Hayden, posing as Gat Gans. In 1934, this film was condemned by the Catholic Legion of Decency.
I remember that ridge over there.
Yeah. Town lies right over there in that big gap. You know, it was right around here I picked you up 12 years ago. He was more dead than alive.
Blue Steel, 1934, as John Carruthers. Malgrove's house is the same house as Juanita's house in the Desert Trail, 1935, and as the Matlock Ranch House in the Starpacker, 1934. Carruthers and Sheriff Withers jump into the same river at the same point, as Weston and Spike Barton do in The Man from Utah, 1934. The Man from Utah, 1934, as John Weston. John Wayne's singing was dubbed by Glenn Strange, who was better known later on as Sam the bartender on Gunsmoke, 1955.
Boys, get that man. I want him.
Randy Rides Alone, 1934, as Randy Bowers. The film's heroine, Sally Rogers, has the same name as the character played by Rose Marie on The Dick Van Dyke Show, 1961. George Gabby Hayes plays against type as a clean-shaven bad guy. The Starpacker, 1934, as John Travers. The Matlock Ranch house is the same house as Juanita's in The Desert Trail, 1935, and as Mangroves in The Blue Steel, 1934. Yakim Kunut, Indian character, occasionally uses the word skookum, a Chinook Jarden term meaning great or large. The term originates in the Pacific Northwest, not the US Southwest, where the film takes place, but Kunut was from Washington State, so likely picked it up there. The Trail Beyond, 1934, as Rod Drew. Store owner Noah Berry challenged leading lady Verna Hilly to a drinking contest on location.
The Rock and his gang are attacking Wabanot now.
The Lawless Frontier, 1934, as John Tobin. There is a costuming error when Tobin, John Wayne, calls home. He's shown wearing a badge, but it was on the wrong side of his chest. It should be over his heart on the left side, not the right side. Neath the Arizona Skies, 1934, as Chris Morrell. Only 8 years old when this picture was made, Shirley Jean Rickert had already had a fairly extensive movie career. She may have been the only actor to be a regular player with the two most popular kids series in Hollywood. She was a member of Our Gang for Hal Roach and a featured player with Mickey Rooney in the Mickey himself Maguire series. Texas Terror, 1935, as John Higgins. George Hayes speaks with his normal voice, with his dentures in his mouth, not with his gabby character's voice, a rare occurrence.
Not much to tell, son. Been doing some repair work around the place. Kinda expected you out.
Well, I was figuring on getting out tomorrow night. Thought I'd try and even up that trip.
Rainbow Valley, 1935, as John Martin. While the exact time frame of the movie is unclear, a portrait of Theodore Roosevelt is seen on the wall over Eleanor's left shoulder. Roosevelt served as president from 1901 to 1909, meaning the film takes place within the first decade of the turn of the century.
It's perfectly all right. This is a public building.
Thanks. Now you've got me all flustered. It's worse now than when you weren't speaking to me.
The Desert Trail, 1935, as John Scott, posing as John Jones. Juanita's house is the same house as used as the Matlock Ranch house in The Starpacker and as the Mangroves house in Blue Steel. The rodeo shots are the same as the ones used in The Man from Utah, 1934.
Hey, you. I want to ask you a few questions.
Oh, now wait a minute, Sheriff.
The Dawn Rider, 1935, as John Mason. Stuntman Jack Jones was driving a wagon at a fast pace when the seat collapsed and he was thrown off the wagon. A wheel on the wagon ran over his leg, injuring it so severely that it ended his acting stunting career. Paradise Canyon, 1935, as John Wyatt posing as John Rogers, colorized and retitled as Guns Along the Trail in 2007 by Legend Films.
Well, that's a new one for me. Looks like I'm gonna have to join a medicine show.
Westward Ho, 1935, as John Wyatt, aka John Allen. This was Republic's first production. John Wayne's singing voice is dubbed by Glenn Strange. All of the singing riders, over 24, ride white horses. The New Frontier, 1935, as John Dawson. The film takes place in 1889, Eleanor Vogel's debut. The scene set in Kansas features snow-capped mountains of which Kansas has none.
An anniversary jubilee, which is now officially open. Nice riding, Tony. I reckon they didn't make any better time.
Lawless Range, 1935, as John Middleton. John Wayne wasn't a singer. The man's voice you hear when Wayne sings is Glenn Strange, who is best known as Sam, the bartender, in Gunsmoke. Strange was a singer with various groups before he got into movies. Strange also had a minor role in this movie. The Oregon Trail, 1936, as Captain John Delmont. This film is believed lost. The Lawless 90s, 1936, as John Tipton. Federal agents Tipton and Bridger have been sent to Wyoming where the vote on statehood is imminent. Plummer and his gang are out to make sure the votes fail. When Plummer's men kill Bridger, Tipton fights on. He sends fake telegrams to trap some of Plummer's men. When he organises the ranches and on election day they descend on the town, barricaded by Plummer's gang. King of the Pecos, 1936, as John Claiborne. Texas cattle baron, Stiles, killed John Claiborne's parents 10 years earlier. Now a lawyer, Claiborne tries to legally break up Stiles' water monopoly and rustling operation. When that fails, he must use force.
Some other time.
The Lonely Trail, 1936, as Captain John Ashley. The time period was 1865. Wayne carried a Colt 1873 Peacemaker that was not invented yet. His belt had cartridges that were not invented also.
Let's go down there and help him.
Wait a minute. There's a better way we can help him. Help. We'll have easy pickings. Glad to have been of service, Captain. Good night. Good night. What's the situation?
Winds of the Wasteland, 1936, as John Blair. The arrival of the telegraph put Pony Express riders like John Blair and his pal Smokey out of work. A race will decide whether they or stage line owner Drake get the government mail contract.
Oh, no, you're not. I got a better idea. We're going to start a stage line.
A stage line?
Sure, there's plenty of money in it.
Born to the West, 1937, as Dare Rudd. Retitled Helltown by Favourite Films for its 1950 re-release. This film was often shown in tandem with the re-release of The Thundering Herd, 1933, retitled Buffalo Stampede.
I thought that voice sounded kind of familiar. I'm sure glad to see you, Tom.
What are you up to?
Pals of the Saddle, 1938, as Stony Brook. The music used when the Wanted poster is being nailed up was reused in the Lone Ranger TV show.
Now that's her autograph, all right.
Overland Stage Raiders, 1938, as Stony Brook, final film of Louise Brooks. In her memoirs, Louise Brooks refers to co-star John Wayne as a purely beautiful being.
You mean about Ned? I'm way ahead of you. The finance company has probably repossessed our plane by now. I guess we'll be leaving Oro Grande soon.
You've got another guest coming. You haven't lost.
Santa Fe Stampede, 1938, as Stony Brook. According to the American Movie Channel, this was the first Hollywood film where the villain murders a child.
Hey. Hello, Bud. What are you playing?
Keep 'em up.
Red River Range, 1938, as Stony Brook. John Wayne's last B-movie before becoming famous for Stagecoach, and therefore a huge movie star. He made over 50 small films before his fame, mostly westerns. Stagecoach, 1939, as Ringo Kid, the western that made John Wayne famous. The hat that John Wayne wears was his own. He would wear it in many westerns during the next 2 decades, before retiring it after Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo, because it was simply falling apart. After that, the hat was displayed under glass in his home. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate your likes and subscribers. Hit the notification button to get my new videos. Take a look at my channel and check out my Facebook page. The links are in the description. I am Wrangler. Bye for now. See you again soon.
Interesting facts about famous people.